Hi, this is Lyn Leahz, and I have singer and songwriter John Waller with me today. Hi, John. How are you doing?
I am doing very well. How are you doing?
I am doing great, and it's so great to have you. We have a couple different things to talk about, and it's very, very interesting. Some of the things that we're going to discuss about your music and your life in general and what God has been doing with you and your family. But for those of you listening who might not know, John Waller, of course, I mentioned he was a singer and the songwriter for Christian music, and he did the hit song While I'm Waiting that was featured in the movie Fireproof. So, like I said, those of you who don't know, that was a big song for him several years back. Now, he does have a new album that's coming out sometime early next year, and he's uncertain of the title for sure yet, but at the moment, it's Awakening, but at the last moment, that could change. So we're all looking forward to hearing this new album when it comes out. So John, why don't you go ahead and tell me a little bit about your career in music and how the Lord really moves in you and in your music capabilities and talents to bless the people.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, my journey with music was pretty much my whole life, being exposed to a lot of really great music and a, a father who's a musician, mother who had a beautiful voice, and they used to sing together. So I grew up hearing a lot of Christian music. Early as Dallas Home and Praise, which is way back. I grew up, was born early 1970, and so I grew up in the 70s and got exposed early on to some Christian music. But it wasn't until high school that, I Christian music and one artist in particular captured my attention, and my heart was Stephen Curtis Chapman, and I got into his music about the time I was a junior in high school, and I decided to really completely be sold out, give my heart to Christ, and follow Him for real, and not just going to church and paying God lip service and going through the religious motions, but truly entering into a a discipleship relationship with Jesus. And so that happened, and Stephen's music was right there to encourage me and to just came alongside me at that very formative time in my spiritual walk. And so I fell in love with his music, and I remember being in my car driving I guess it was I just graduated, and I was driving out to the college I was going to go to, and I remember hearing one of his songs on the radio, and the song just moved me so deeply that I told God in that moment that if I could do anything in life, it would be to write songs and sing songs that move people on a heart level the way Stephen's music in that particular song in that moment moved me and impacted my heart and my life. And so I just felt like the Lord confirmed, in my heart that that's exactly what He had called me to do. And I thought that it would be a little easier and a little quicker than it was, but it was a long journey that was more about Him, growing me up and teaching me to walk with Him, to trust Him, and then songs, came out of that. But I pursued music for the next 12 to 13 years, and my desire, my goal was to become, a major recording artist and to have my songs on the radio and basically to be like my hero, Stephen Curtis, And so after about 13 years pursuing that, it all kind of came crashing down. I was in a band that toured all over the place called According to John, and we were just about to see a big breakthrough and get sign a big record deal. And I thought, this is it. This is what I've been working for my whole life. and then it fell apart, and it fell through. It didn't happen. The record deal ended up not happening, and the band ended up breaking up. And so I was at a really low place in my life. To give you a little bit of history, I battled with depression, most of my life, and from the time I was diagnosed when I was 12. So I dealt with that, a good portion of my life, and was on medication for it. And so when this dream kind of came to an end, it was a very low time for me. I went into, downward spiral into a depression. And and I just kind of felt like God had led me on, let me down, and I was angry with him. And so at that moment in my life, I feel like God came along and knew that I needed to be set free, in order to do what he truly called me to do. And what he called me to do was not to sing and to write songs. It was to set people free and to give them hope. And music was just the tool. But I wasn't even free myself. And so in that moment, God came and met me in that dark moment in my life when my dreams were done and crushed. And he healed me from a battle with depression and medication. And I was released from that. And um, we moved to Colorado. I became a worship pastor. I always said I'd never be a worship pastor and I'd never leave Georgia, but here I was moving to Colorado to become a worship pastor. And about a year after being out there, I started writing new songs from a new place in my life, a new place of newly found freedom, and all these amazing songs came out, and I really felt like God was going to open the door for me to see my dream come to be, and that was I remember writing songs like "The Blessing," because I really believed in the power of speaking blessing over your children, because I had some things spoken over me when I was young that kind of stayed with me, that I refer to as word curses. And so I saw all that stuff broken, and the new songs that came out were just fantastic. And I was like, God, could it be that you're still going to open this door for me and see this dream come to pass? And so I got excited again. And I was a little gun shy about, getting excited, because I didn't want to be let down again. But I remember I recorded all these new songs, and as an independent project, Mark Hall from Casting Crowns came along and sang on one of the songs called "The Blessing," and then I thought, surely this is it. It's going to happen for me. Well, everything kind of went quiet for about 6 months. After Mark was trying to help me, get my music out there, everything just kind of went silent for 6 months. That's when I wrote the song "While I'm Waiting," because I was once again waiting on God and not knowing what's going to happen, and it was a very painful thing. And I'm really glad I wrote that song, because I probably wouldn't have a career without it. But so within a couple of weeks of writing "While I'm Waiting," I was on a plane to Nashville, and I arrived there and was because a guy named Mark Miller, who actually signed Casting Crowns, finally heard my music, flew me out there, and signed me the very same night that he flew me out there. And it was just amazing God story. And man, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I wouldn't go back and all the shortcuts I wanted to take that God didn't let me take. I would never want to go back and try to take them, because everything in my journey led me to the songs that I wrote that have impacted, millions of lives. And a lot of people don't even know who sings them, but it's amazing to see what God's done in this journey.
Well, I wanted to add, first of all, and I'll put this up on the screen in the beginning of this video when I, get it up on YouTube, but John's websites are johnwaller.org and crazyfaithcoffee.com. Again, I'll have those on the screen for those of you listening. And I wanted to mention your song, "While I'm Waiting." I remember that song has really spoken to me so many times, because I don't know. It's like when you really want something or things seem to be going wrong, sometimes you just can't hear God. And I think sometimes he's silent on purpose to build our faith, but I also think there's other times we're so caught up in the flesh of our emotions that
Hmm.
he is speaking to us and we can't hear him. In fact, one time I was talking with the Lord and he told me, he said, Lynn, he said, you know how when you're on the phone with somebody and you get a bad signal, like a bad cell signal, and one person's talking, but the other person can't hear? I said, yes. And he said, well, that's how it is today with the spiritual, powers of hell that are in the air. He said, there's so much more of it. It's so much more evil that people are not hearing my voice and their antennas aren't up. They're not tuned in. I'm speaking, but they're not listening.
Mm.
They can't hear me. And he said, I want you to
Yeah.
remember this because as the evil day, grows more and more dark, people are not going to be able to hear me as much. And I want you to remember that. And so I try to remember that. There's things I go through and I'm crying and I'm like, Lord, where are you? I feel abandoned. And you want to start getting hopeless in your heart. I just remember the words to that song and I still listen to it often today while I'm waiting. And it's a powerful song and you can really feel the Holy Spirit in it. And I also want to add, you were talking about depression, and praise and worship is such a powerful tool to battle the enemy and battle any demonic forces. In fact, when you start playing praise and worship music and music about the Lord that's really anointed of God, the devil has to run. He can't stand it. So,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people out there today are caught up in depression and they're feeling hopeless and they feel abandoned by God. And I just want to
Yeah.
encourage those people that God is there. Just trust in him with all of your heart and all of your soul. Don't lean on your own understanding, but just depend on God because he is there for you. And when you're feeling really blue and hopeless, turn on some good anointed music and run the devil out of your home, out of your mind, out of your
Hmm.
thoughts, and just rebuke him at every turn.
Amen. Yeah, I totally agree. Music, especially praise and worship music, it changes the atmosphere, um, and it can break up the darkness, or it can summon the darkness. I mean, the enemy certainly is very uh, well versed with music. I mean, that's what he was. He was a worship. He was head of worship in heaven at one point, and so the enemy definitely uses music, but man, worship music, it really can open up the heavens, and it can clear any darkness. So I'm with you on that.
Yes, amen. And you mentioned about music that welcomes the enemy. We have a lot of worldly music right now today, and people don't even realize it, that are welcoming all sorts of demonic spirits straight from hell, of suicide, the occult, sexual sin, and all sorts of things. And people are inviting this into their spirit with the music, and they don't even realize it. So people need to be aware of that.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. So, anyhow, there were some other things you and I had talked about, but I wanted to make sure people knew that you had this new project called Crazy Faith. And Crazy Faith was actually featured the song I Know My God. It features a song I Know My God, and the Orphan song
Yeah.
that became crowd favorites at your concert. And it was also featured in the best selling movie War Room, the highly acclaimed fifth film from Alex and Stephen Kendrick, who put together Fireproof, Courageous, Facing the Giants.
Yes.
And it debuted in theaters nationwide back in August of 2015. So I didn't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about that too, real quick.
Yeah. Which Crazy Faith, the actual song was featured in War Room, and that's a song that was inspired directly by our adoption story. We just about five. It was 5 years ago, and I apologize if you hear the rain in the background. I'm in my vehicle, and it's pouring down rain. But anyway, we, my wife felt this strong tug on her heart uh, towards adoption. And we had 5 kids, and I'd always wanted to adopt. So when she told me that, I was very excited about the idea of adopting a child, and a little girl. That's what we wanted, um, and so we kind of went down that path to pursue adoption, and we fasted and we prayed, and during that time of praying about adoption, I had a dream about a girl um, who became our daughter, and in the dream, I learned all kind of things about her. Her name um, is Anna, and she was 10 years old, and I knew she was from Eastern Europe, and I knew exactly what she looked like because I was in an orphanage in my dream. And 2 days later, we found her. Um, and after we found her and began to pursue, bringing her to the United States for the summer because she was up to be hosted, but she was also available for adoption. We found out she had a brother that she would not come without him, and we struggled with that because we didn't want to adopt 2 kids. We just thought that was too much. And but we brought both of them over to the States for the summer, and we decided to adopt both of them. And we began to raise the money, and God provided. And but a month before we were to go to Ukraine to get them, and we found out they had a sister, and that she was 12 years old, and she was in a different orphanage. And it was crazy, but we just had God's peace, and we decided we would adopt her as well. And so anyway, we the day before we flew over there to get them, we discovered that we were expecting a baby. So we went from 5 to 9 in 1 year, and that song "Crazy Faith" came out of that.
Wow. And I thought I had a lot of children with 4, but you've got a house full of 9. What a blessing, though. Back in the Bible, we read about how children are always such a blessing. So I'm sure that all of your children are such a huge blessing to you and your wife.
Absolutely, they are. I joke about how they're all a blessing, but sometimes they're a blessing in disguise, depending on what kind of attitude they have.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. My aunt, you mentioned about the dream you had. My aunt had 2 miscarriages, and so she adopted 2 babies from Russia.
Oh, wow.
And so when one of those little babies grew up a little bit, I can't remember how old the little girl was, maybe 4 or 5 years old.
Right.
She went to my aunt and she said, "Mommy," she said, "did you know I saw angels?" And my aunt said, No, tell me about it. And she said, "Well, it was 2 times." She goes, "2 times I came for you." And she said, "The second time, an angel brought me to you, but then took me away and said to me, don't worry, you're going to go really far away, but your mother will find you."
Oh, wow.
And so then, and it was really weird because, this was just coming from a child. And here my aunt had 2 miscarriages twice. And so, I don't know if there's anything to it, but it certainly was interesting because the angel said to the little girl that she had to go far away, but her mother would find her. And the little girl at that point didn't even know she was adopted. And my aunt went really far away to go adopt these 2 little girls.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's amazing.
Yeah, amazing story. So I believe God definitely does some awesome things and does some great miracles. So anyhow, I know we have just a few minutes left, but did you want to share anything else with the listeners here in the last few minutes about your kids or your Crazy Faith Coffee Company and so forth?
Absolutely. Yeah. When you have 9 kids, you have to get creative on feeding them and raising them. And so we were praying about something that we could do, in addition to music, to provide for our family, and something that we could be passionate about. And so we had this idea of taking stories like ours and gathering them, and we started a coffee company where we share stories of crazy faith inside bags of coffee. we love coffee. My wife and I both love coffee. Our journey of faith has
Me
always
too. I love
had
coffee. I'm
coffee.
a coffee
Yeah,
nerd.
it's always had
Yeah.
coffee. Yeah, you're a coffee girl, I know. Um, but yeah, we've always associated coffee and the aroma of it and the taste of it with our faith, because we always drink coffee in the morning when we're spending time with the Lord. And so we decided to start this brand of coffee where it would be like a Cracker Jack concept, and the prize inside the bag was a different story of crazy faith. We started that vision 2 years ago, and people can go to crazyfaithcoffee.com and they can try our coffee. Of course, we have other products as well, such as mugs and T-shirts that say "I need a whole lot of Jesus and a little caffeine," that kind of thing. Um, I ended up writing a song for the new album called "Awakening," which is it's also called the Coffee Song. But we have a passion for coffee. We sell coffee at our concerts. We just kind of made it an integral part of our ministry. So I encourage the people who are going to be watching or listening to this interview to go to crazyfaithcoffee.com and try it out, because it's great coffee. There's encouraging stories. And when you buy this coffee, you just know you're supporting a very large family.
Well, yeah, because I've had it and it's a very good coffee, and I love, the little message inside. It reminds me of
Yeah.
the old Cracker Jack boxes. You'd always have a different prize inside,
Yeah.
and it's great to give away to somebody as a gift too. It's a great witnessing tool because it always
Yeah.
has a nice message inside. So, for those of you listening, if you like coffee, go to crazyfaithcoffee.com and get yourself some, because it is very, very good coffee. Again, I'm a coffee nerd. I'm very particular about my coffee, and it is excellent coffee. And also visit John Waller at johnwaller.org. That's JOHNWALLER.org. And try some of that coffee, because it's good stuff and you're supporting a ministry and a good cause. And it's the best thing you can do, in particular, if you are a coffee lover. So, John,
Amen to that.
yeah, I really appreciate you coming on my show with me, and I can't wait to get this out to my listeners, and hopefully it will inspire them in their walk with Christ, because God knows with the stress that we have each and every day, we definitely as Christians need some inspiration.
Amen. We do. And that I've always felt like the gift the Lord's given me is encouragement or exhortation, and so I use music as the way to deliver that encouragement and hope to people, and it's just been cool to see what God has done over these 25 years since I first told Him this is what I want to do, and so I'm going to keep going and finish this race, I appreciate you interviewing me. I appreciate anyone checking out what we're doing and supporting our ministry in any way that they feel led, whether it's buying coffee or whether it's praying for us, supporting us in any way. We are completely faith, and I dare say crazy faith-based ministry.
Yeah, in fact, I have some information you had sent me in the email, and you had stated that God has definitely taught me to completely live by faith. And I can honestly say that my wife and I completely live by faith in everything we do. And then you went on to say, God always provides, He always comes through. And one of the biggest things I've learned is that God's plan for each one of our lives is not going to look like someone else's. I am an individual and unique, and God has a unique plan for me. And you said a couple other things in there as well, but you mentioned that you completely live by faith, and that's awesome. That does take crazy faith to live by faith for sure.
Yes, absolutely. I forgot even say. I mean, I know I say that kind of thing all the time, but it's encouraging to me for you to repeat it back to me. So that's very cool.
Amen. I know what you mean. Sometimes when I'm recording my own videos, I'm preaching to myself. And it encourages me. As much as I get sick of hearing my own self when I have to edit videos, I have to hear myself
Yeah,
over and over again. And sometimes it can be really tedious, but it does sure preach to me. That's for sure.
absolutely. Same with my music because I write songs for myself first because I where I want to be, what God's doing, but then if others are encouraged by it, great.
Well, your songs have certainly encouraged me. They have a station I listen to. It's called K Love, and they play your music on K Love a lot,
Yeah.
and I love it. There's some singers out there. There's a lot of these
Wow.
singers out there now. They have the same sound. Like they're all different, but some of them sound very similar
Right.
or something. But yours has a different sound to it,
Thank
and
you.
I like that. And your music really encourages me and my family. My kids love your music too.
Well, I'm honored. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you and God bless you. And if you'll stay on the line with me just for a moment, I'll go and end this. And just thank you to all of you listening and those of you who want to check out John. You can check him out at johnwaller.org and check out his coffee ministry at crazyfaithcoffee.com and give a little support, buy some coffee or whatever. Look around and see if there's anything that you'd be interested in and just help support his ministry and just send up your prayers to him and his family for what they're all doing, him and his wife and his 9 children. So thanks to all of you listening and God bless you. And God bless you, John.
God bless you too. Thank you.